The punishment hall of Orbital Station Rethus was not built for fairness. It was built for control. It was built to make fear feel normal. Bright lights hung overhead. Cold and white, they showed every detail. They showed every tremble. The air was cold enough to sting the lungs. It smelled of disinfectant, sharp and clean. But under that smell was another one. Fear. Fear from many species. Fear from many minds. In the center of the hall stood a line. A single file of offenders waiting their turn. Some were smugglers, some were brawlers. Some were thieves, some were only unlucky in the line. It did not matter who you were. It only mattered what the display said. It only mattered what the platform did. At the back of the line stood Elias. Vorn, his shoulders were straight. His hands looked calm. His face looked steady, but inside him, nothing was steady. His jaw was tight. His chest felt heavy, because near the front of the line stood a cub, a child small enough to look wrong in this place, thin enough to look breakable. 3 places ahead of him, the cub waited. Its fur was black with thin silver stripes, but the fur was dirty and matted, like it had slept in hard places. Its ears were pinned back. Its tail was wrapped around one leg, tight, like the cub was trying to hold itself together. Its eyes were predatory eyes, but dull with fear. Above the cub, charge display hovered. Name Tarek, species Kithra, crime food theft, punishment neural agony, 15 cycles. Elias read those words. Again, 15 cycles. His stomach turned. He knew what neural agony did. It did not cut skin. It did not leave scars for a camera. It went under the skin. It set the nerves on fire. It made the mind feel trapped inside pain. Adults begged during it. Adults screamed during it. Adults broke during it. A cub would not just hurt. A cub could change forever. The line moved. A Veshguard called the next offender. The guard was tall, black chitin shining under the lights. Its voice was flat, cold. Next, Anne. Adult offender stepped forward. The machine behind the platform began to hum. Metal arms shifted into place. Restraints. Up. The offender gripped the handles. Then pain struck. The offender screamed. The sound filled the hall. A sharp, raw sound that made others flinch. Then it stopped. The offender collapsed. Shaking guards unhooked the restraints. Guards dragged the body away. No comfort, no pause. The line moved again. One step, then another. Tarek moved forward with the rest, small feet scraping lightly on metal, small shoulders tight. The cub tried to keep its head up, tried to look brave, but its legs shook. Elias watched and remembered the market not long ago. Earlier, when this could have ended another way. The market level was crowded, loud, stalls packed close. Voices in many languages, smells of fuel, spice, and hot food. Elias had been there for routine work. Cargo checks, paperwork, simple steps. He had no plan to get involved in anything. Then he saw Tarek. The cub stood near a food stall, not touching. Anything not stealing, just staring. A strip of warm protein rested on a tray. The smell drifted. It was strong. It made hunger feel louder. Tarek swallowed. Its small claws flexed once. Then it pulled its hands back, like it was trying to behave. The vendor noticed. The vendor smiled. But it was not a kind smile. It was a cruel one. The vendor lowered the food closer to the cub, close enough to smell. Not close enough to take. Tarek took. One careful step, reached with one small hand. The vendor pulled the food, way fast. People nearby laughed. Not everyone laughed, but enough laughed to feed the vendor's pride. The vendor did it again, lowered the food. Again. Tarek reached again. The vendor pulled it away again. More laughter. Tarek stopped reaching. The cub stood still. Ears pinned back, eyes fixed on the food. It looked left and right, looking for help, looking for someone. To say stop, Elias felt the wrongness of it. He almost stepped forward. Almost. Spoke, but he hesitated. Only a moment, only a beat, but hunger does not wait. The vendor lowered the food again. It's like bait. Tay snapped. Not with pride, not with cruelty, with desperation. The cub lunged, grabbed the food and ran. 3 steps, maybe 4. Then guards dropped in fast, too fast. Like they had been waiting, one guard grabbed the cub by the arm, another guard tore the food away. Tarek cried out, a high child sound. The vendor raised both hands and acted shocked. The crowd watched. Some laughed. Some looked away. The guards dragged Tarek across the floor. The cub tried to speak, tried to apologize, tried to explain, but the guards did not care. They did not ask why. They did not question the vendor. They only saw the theft. They only saw a reason to punish. Elias stepped forward then. A step too late. He opened his mouth, but the guards were already moving away, already taking the cub into the detention wing. That hesitation followed Elias. It followed him down the corridor. It followed him into this hall. Now, in the punishment hall, the line moved again. The offender in front of Tarek finished screaming, finished shaking, was dragged away. The Vesh guard pointed. Next, Tarek froze. Its feet would not move. Its eyes locked on the platform. The machine hummed like it could taste fear. Step forward, the guard's voice. Sharpened step forward, Tarek's legs shook. Then one foot slid forward, then another, slow and heavy, like each step hurt. The cub climbed onto the platform. The platform was too big for it. The handles were too far apart. The restraints lowered automatically. Cold metal bands closed around small wrists and small ankles. Tarek flinched hard. Its breath came fast. The guard lifted a hand to begin. Elias. Move, stop, one word. It cut through the hall. Prisoners turned their heads. Guards shifted. Even the machine seemed to wait. The Vesh guard turned slowly toward Elias. You speak out of turn. Human Elias. Stepped forward. His boots sounded loud on the metal floor. He stopped near the platform. He looked at the guard. His voice stayed calm. I am responsible. Silence filled the hall. The guard tilted its head. Clarify, Elias. Felt the lie form. He did not like lies, but sometimes a lie was mercy. I told the cub to take the food. Tarek turned its head toward him. Wide eyes, confused eyes, like the cub could not understand. Why someone would say that. The guard clicked its mandibles. Witnesses saw the cub take the item. Elias answered. Witnesses saw a cub grab food. They did not see the vendor tease him. They did not hear the laughter. They did not see the trap. They only saw the moment that made the cub look guilty. The guard stared at him. Rules are rules. Elias nodded. Yes, and I accept punishment for my order. The guard studied Elias. Humans were rare here. Humans had a reputation. Not the strongest, not the fastest, but stubborn. The guard spoke slowly. You accept the cub's punishment? Elias did not blink. I accept my punishment. The guard lifted a hand. Release the cub. The restraints opened with a click. Tarek fell forward, then scrambled backward. Free. A guard removed the collar from the cub's neck. The collar hit the floor with a dull sound. Tarek touched its neck. Checking. As if it could not believe it, the Vesh guard pointed at Elias. Human, take its place. Elias stepped onto the platform. The metal was cold under his boots. He placed his hands on the grips. The grips were worn, smoothed by many hands, many victims. The restraints closed around Elias. Locked tight, he did not pull away. He looked to the side. Tarek stood near the edge of the hall. Small, free, still shaking, still watching. The guard spoke. 15 cycles begin. The first cycle hit. Pain exploded inside Elias. Not on the skin, inside. The nerves. Fire down his spine. Fire in his arms. Fire in his legs. His breath caught. He forced air back in. He clenched his teeth. He refused to scream. The second cycle hit. The pain sharpened, focused like heat turning into a blade. His hands tightened on the grips. His arms trembled. His face stayed still. The third cycle. His vision blurred. The bright lights became streaks. His stomach turned hard. The fourth cycle hit. His legs shook. He tasted addled blood. He had bitten his tongue. The fifth cycle hit. A scream pushed up his throat. He swallowed it down. He thought of Tarek in these restraints. He thought of small wrists, small ribs. He stayed silent. The sixth cycle hit. His fingers went numb. Then the numbness became burning. Sweat formed on his forehead, cold sweat. The seventh cycle hit. His back arched against his will. He fought to keep his body steady. Then he heard a small sound in the hall. A whimper, not from him, from Tarek. The cub made a small broken noise, like it could not stop itself. Elias heard it and felt something twist. Inside his chest, he forced himself taller. He would not scream, not while the cub watched. The eighth cycle hit. The world narrowed. Pain, breath, cold, metal. Grips. Nothing else. The ninth cycle hit. His knees buckled. He caught himself. He would not fall yet. The 10th cycle hit. His eyes adored. His jaw ached from clenching. He pulled in slow air, one breath at a time. The 11th cycle hit. Spots of light danced in his vision. He blinked hard. He stayed focused. The 12th cycle hit. The machine surged like it. It wanted him to beg. He did not beg. The 13th cycle hit. A low sound escaped him, a rough grunt, not a scream. He swallowed it down. The 14th cycle hit. His body shook hard. He felt close to breaking. He looked toward Tarek. The cub stood, eyes locked on him, learning, holding this moment in its mind. Elias stayed silent. The 15th cycle hit. A final wave of fire. Then the machine stopped. Silence fell. The restraints released. Elias collapsed to his knees, then forward onto his hands, then onto the cold. Floored, his whole body burned. His nerves still screamed. Even after the machine stopped, the Vesh guard spoke like a machine. Punishment completed. Next offender. As if nothing important had happened. Guards pulled Elias away from the platform, not cruel, not kind, just routine. A medic unit waited at the side. A dermal regenerator hummed over Elias's back. A numbing wave spread slowly. The pain softened enough for him to breathe, enough for him to lift his head. That was when small footsteps approached. Tarek walked toward him, carefully, like the cub was walking into a sacred place. Tarek stopped beside him. The cub's eyes were different now, still afraid, but bright, focused, alert, like something inside had changed. Tarek held something in its hands, a small carved stone. Smooth, crude, made with care, Tap placed it into Elias's palm. The cub spoke softly, honor given, Elias. Closed his fingers around the stone. He did not know all the customs, but he understood the meaning. Respect, gratitude, a promise. The medic looked between them. Quiet. Then the medic spoke to Elias. You did not have to do that, Elias. Swallowed and answered in a low voice. Yes, I did. The medic asked, Why, Elias? Looked at Tarek, a cub mocked for hunger, a cub trapped for sport, a cub almost broken by rules with no mercy. Elias thought of the vendor's smile, thought of the laughter, thought of how fast the guards had come. Then he spoke in simple words. Because a child should not learn that. Cruelty is normal. Because someone had to show him the galaxy is not all terrible. Because someone, somewhere, has to give a damn. The medic did not argue. The medic only nodded once. Tarek stayed beside Elias, not touching him, just staying. Like the cub could not leave until it knew Elias would stand again. When Elias finally rose, swayed. The medic supported him. Elias took a slow breath. He looked at the stone in his hand. Then he looked at Tarek. The cub watched him like a memory being carved into place. Elias left the detention wing later. Every step burned, but his head was high. He carried the stone openly. Guards watched him pass. Some looked annoyed. Some looked confused. Some looked uncomfortable because the hall had seen something. An air. Not strength, not weapons. A choice. A human choosing pain so a cub would not be broken. Outside the hall, the station sounded normal again. Engines, announcements, footsteps, trade, life, but Elias carried the silence of that. Hall inside him. He did not chase revenge that day. He did not hunt the vendor in anger. He chose to leave. He chose to carry the stone. He chose to keep the lesson alive. He hoped the cub would be safe. He hoped the cub would not learn only cruelty. Then the galaxy began to whisper. A fleet moving through lanes people avoided. Stations going quiet when certain ships. Pirate routes smashed. Slaver routes burned. The name returned to old cum lines. Kithra, Apex. Predators of old stories. A name that made merchants whisper. A name that made admirals study maps twice. The Kithra not returned. Not as hungry cubs. Not as trembling children. As warriors. Disciplined, fast, unstoppable. Their ships moved like predators. Their strikes were clean. They did not raid for fun. They hit targets with purpose. They punished those who preyed on the weak. They broke the kinds of groups that sold fear for profit. Humanity watched the news, like everyone else. Humans were not the biggest species, not the richest, not the most advanced. Humans relied on allies. Humans relied on trade. Humans relied on staying unnoticed by larger predators. So when Kithra ships moved toward human space, fear spread. Defense grids powered up. Ships went on alert. People stocked supplies. Parents held children close. The sky over. Earth felt heavy with waiting. Then the Kithra fleet arrived. Ships filled the upper sky, like dark islands, shadows over clouds. The world watched through screens and windows. Weapons locked. The air felt tense. One ship descended alone, not rushing, controlled dot. A ramp opened. A figure stepped out, tall, powerful, black fur with silver stripes, eyes sharp, calm. A leader warrior stood behind him in silent lines. The leader's voice carried through translators. I seek Elias Vorn. The words hit the world like a shock. Who was Elias Vorn? Why did the Kithra want one human? Why speak a name like it mattered more than nations? Elias heard the call. He was older now, scarred. He stood among officers and alarms. He touched his pocket without thinking, touched the stone. He had kept it, always not. Surprise. As a promise, he stepped forward. Advisors shouted warnings. Guards tried to stop him, but Elias lifted a hand. He walked out alone. He walked into open ground. He stood beneath the shadow of alien ships. He looked up at the Kithra leader. I am Elias Vorn. The Kithra leader stared, long, silent. The world held its breath. Then the leader moved forward, slow steps, heavy steps. When he reached Elias, he stopped. He looked down at the human. Then he knelt. A warrior leader, kneeling to a human. The world froze. The leader opened his hand. Inside was a stone, smooth carved, a twin to the one Elias carried. The leader spoke in a voice that carried weight. I remember. You stood in the line, Elias. Felt his throat tightened. He could not speak for a moment. He only nodded. The leader continued. When I was small, the galaxy taught me cruelty. It taught me hunger, is shame. It taught me the strong laugh at the weak. It taught me that rules can be used to break. Child. Then you stood. You took pain meant for me. You did not scream. You did not beg. You showed me a different lesson. You showed me that honor can live inside a stranger. You showed me that mercy can be stronger than fear. The leader rose. He turned toward the fleet. His voice carried across the air. No one touches humanity. Humanity. stood for one of ours. Now we stand for them. The fleet shifted, not into attack, into ships spread like a shield, weapons aimed outward, not at Earth, at threats beyond, at predators that hunted the weak. The Kithra did not come to claim Earth. They came to guard it. Because a human once stood in a punishment hall, because a human once stepped into the line, because a human once chose. Pain over silence, the world watched, the galaxy watched, and the story changed. Not because humans won a battle, not because humans had the biggest guns, because humans did something the galaxy still struggled to understand. Humans chose to suffer for someone smaller. Humans chose to stand. When others looked away, humans chose mercy inside a place built for fear. That day, war did not end with fire, it ended with honor. It ended with a kneeling leader. It ended with a promise spoken to the sky, and at the center of it all stood Elias Vorn, holding a stone, feeling old pain and old nerves, knowing one moment can echo across worlds. Because one human stood in the line, and the cub never forgot. Asterisk, thanks for watching. If this story hit you, smash the like. Share it with someone who loves HFY. Drop a comment saying I remember, and subscribe to Neon Cub Tales for the next story.